Going live song. All right, we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to another non-mutable episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Over Sharon Show.
You are going to have to explain the non-mutable thing
Not
because
right.
I need to understand what mutable is first.
Yeah, no, you're right. Technically, we are mutable because you could probably mute us on your device if you really wanted to, or whatever.
But
However,
please
you're
don't
listening.
mute. No, I'm just kidding.
So, but non-mutable in, like astrology or esoteric symbolism and stuff like that, it just refers to an energy that cannot be, I guess, refused or silenced. So it's kind of like truth in a way, where truth is going to come out and shine no matter what. Might take a little while for it to happen, but
Hmm.
it's more of an energy, something to do with energy, really. So it if you look at it kind of like in a personality type wise thing, something that's not immutable, it's one of your tendencies that you have that's more hardwired, and that's kind of harder, I guess, to go against. Whereas the mutable ones are ones that you could work with more. That'd be a better
Flexible,
analogy.
maybe?
Yeah, a little more flexible. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Oh, Rachel says hi. Hi, Rachel.
Hello,
I
Rachel.
don't think if this is the Rachel I think, I haven't seen her in a while.
Good to see
And talked
you.
to her. Yeah, welcome back. Um, she might be here because I actually posted on Instagram. I
Yeah,
actually created what do you call it? The story.
it's me. Oh yeah, the story. The story of
It
our Instagram.
is you.
It's the
Yeah,
only time I
I
really
know.
go on.
They would say what?
I said it's the only time I really go on Instagram. Sometimes I will
Yeah, yeah. I
be
mean,
on again.
you haven't checked any of my messages in ages, so I mean, I get it. I've done the same. Well, thank you for totally randomly showing up. I appreciate that, Rachel.
Happy Thursday.
Yeah, we should totally catch up sometime. Sorry, we just haven't.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Were you gonna
you
look up
talked
mutable?
about mutable. Yes, I was looking up the word mutable in the dictionary. We'll see what it says. It is an adjective. It says liable or subject to change or alteration. Aha. So like truth is not subject to change. It is, right? Like real truth,
Yes, subject to alteration. That's a great definition.
right?
Or so we say non-mutable, which would be the opposite of that, right? Exactly. But that's
Not
just
changeable, basically.
yeah.
So we're the unchanging over Sharon show. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely change, but we have that message and that energy that's kind of unmutable and unchangeable. And I think that's kind of what keeps us with our cool little crowd and keeps us from, being harassed by anybody. It's great.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that.
Well,
From the universe. Sorry, I don't know what is up with my throat.
no worries. I'm gonna read the quote anyway, so we'll share it and you could there we go. I
Okay,
did it
well,
too
can I
away from the
preface
mic.
it real quick by saying that I
Yeah.
gave this quote to Brandon because I'm reading this book. I've been reading this book on and off for several months, but it's about the world's religions, and right now it's talking about Hinduism in the spot that we're at. So I thought this was very interesting, but it might be a little cryptic. So just FYI, we'll try to talk about it.
All right. Yes, we are pretty cryptic anyway, so okay, everybody. Here we go. On the conduct of life, this distinction divides jnana yoga from bhakti yoga. On the doctrine of God, it divides the personal from the transpersonal view. On the issue of salvation, it divides those who anticipate merging with God from those who aspire to God's company in the beatific vision. In cosmology, an extension of the same line divides those who regard the world as being, from the highest perspective, unreal, from those who believe it to be real in every sense. I love this quote.
It's
And
crazy.
Yeah, and the guy, I mean, look at the guy's last name. Come on.
Yeah.
Huston Smith. It's like he's, my
Houston, I'm pretty sure is the way you
yeah,
pronounce
it's
it, but
probably
I'm not
Houston.
sure. Huston. I'm just kidding.
Huston. Well, you never know, right? Get in
I
here,
never know. I
Huston.
don't.
Eat your breakfast.
Just so you know, the word beatific is beatific.
Oh,
I had
beatific.
to
That's right.
I had to look it up because I was like, wait, I feel like I've heard this word, but I just want to make sure I know how to pronounce it.
Yes, thank you. It's funny. I thought it was beauty, I guess, at first, then I fixed the
Yeah,
end,
because
but
it is
beatific. Yeah.
it is kind of its definition is bestowing bliss. It's an adjective, bestowing bliss, blessings, happiness, or the like. For example, beatific peace. So like a blessed peace or like a happy peace or something like that. It could also mean blissful or saintly, like a beatific smile. Synonyms are rapturous, ooh, angelic, exalted, and serene.
I like it.
No, it makes me think of Zen, actually.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this is a big quote. So I will say that as I was reading through this was like kind of I didn't even expect that Brandon was going to use this quote. I just sent it to him because I thought it was cool, but there's a lot to it. So it's talking about, first of all, Nana yoga or Yana yoga. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but that is the yoga that and so okay, let me just start from yoga. Yoga means union. So it's Hinduism's way of talking about union with God, which is like the ultimate union. That's what we're all looking for, right? Even if we don't know that that's what we're looking for. Um,
You're right.
and in
So
yeah,
great.
and even so in Hinduism, what I really liked about reading through this book and understanding more about Hinduism was first of all, it wasn't even called Hinduism. That's something that the West came up with because it really is called, and I don't know how to exactly pronounce this, but I'm assuming it's like Sanatana Dharma.
Oh yeah. I've heard
So
that before.
yeah, Sanatana Dharma. And gosh darn it, it escapes me what that exactly means. I'll find it and I'll tell you in a second. But okay, so that's the first thing. It's called Sanatana Dharma. And then it talks about like four different kind of ways that people will attempt to unite with God because every person is unique, right? And they have tendencies. And so some people will tend to um, want to unite with God in certain ways. So, like, for example, I'm an E no, I'm not an INTJ. I'm an ENTJ, sorry, allegedly. And so my first MBTI process, or sorry, my first I forgot what you call those things since we haven't been studying it.
Test?
Anyway,
A
is a
test? Personality test?
yeah, talking about MBTI, but
Oh, okay.
so I'm a thinker. Let's just say it that way. I'm a thinker. And so that's my dominant. So Jnana yoga is the thinking way. It's like the knowledge path, the path to union with God through knowledge. So that's Jnana yoga. And there's three others, but the next one that they talk about in this quote is bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is about union with God through devotion. And so you can think of an example of, like, for example, Christianity is a very bhakti yoga form of union with God because you choose like a guru or a saint or an avatar, and you choose to bring your devotion to that and your utter love and um just concentration on that. So that's that's for people who tend to that, right? But for me, for example, I'm more like Jnana yoga makes sense to me because I'm on the path of knowledge. Like I want to understand. I want to think it through. So um what he's basically saying in these two things is that they look different, they look divisive, because one says, um well, let's go, can we look at it again?
Yeah.
And by the way, Sanatana Dharma means eternal wisdom. I just looked it up
Nice.
in my little definitions because I've been writing these down so I don't forget. Um, so so it's talking about so when you talk about the doctrine of God, bhakti yoga is like a personal, like people who are Christian will be like, it's a personal God. Like you have a personal relationship with Jesus. And for me personally, haha, I never understood that because that's not my method of union with God. But I didn't understand that. I didn't know. You know what I mean? When you don't know, you don't know. So, but I was just like, well, what do you mean? Like, I don't, how do you know Jesus? Like, how do you know him really? Like, are you really having a relationship with Jesus? Like, that didn't make sense to me. So, but anyway, that's one way, right? That's the personal approach to God. And then the other one, the Jnana yoga version, is a transpersonal. It kind of like transcends that, um, is how I understand it. And then then it talks about the issue of salvation. It divides those who anticipate merging with God from those who aspire God's company in the beatific vision. Okay. So like I guess in a Jnana yoga format, you have this method of union with God that you think of it as a merging with God. And for bhakti yoga people, they feel like it's like they aspire the company of God, like in a peaceful way. Like they want to be in company with God. So it's just two different views, right? Um, it says in cosmology, it divides those who regard the world as being from the highest perspective unreal. So like the Jnana yoga people would be like, this place is unreal. It's not even real.
Yeah.
And the people who are bhakti yogis would be like, dude, this place is real. Like, don't you use your senses every freaking day? You know, don't you use your five senses? Can't you see? Can't you feel? Anyway, you can back out of this if you want, unless you want
Yeah,
to
I
talk
like
about
that.
it.
I love it because it's two different paths in the same quote unquote religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so who's to say which one is right?
Yeah, it's right for you. It's your choice. It's your journey, right? That's what I liked
Yes.
about Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism, because it wasn't judgmental about, oh, how dare you, XYZ, right? Because they notice and they see, they're like, oh, yeah, Christianity is just another form. They're like, that's basically bhakti yoga. Christians are performing bhakti yoga, you know? And other religions, like probably like Islam, is probably like kind of like bhakti. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Um,
Making claims. We're just
I'm not making claims. I'm just, trying to understand it. But definitely Christianity is very bhakti yoga.
yeah, and I know I agree definitely, and I like the quote because you could you can use it anytime if you're having an issue with somebody else in the way that they see the world or whatever, and you're trying to convince them of your view. You can always think about this quote in just the different sets of the different types of this, we call it Hinduism, and how they accept each other and they get that they're both on the same path and they realize that everybody has their own way to do it. So I think it's important to highlight that, especially on our show, because that's what we talk about all the time. It's not
Yeah.
really about changing people's minds and stuff like that. It's more about establishing common ground. So they could, two of these guys from the two different types of yogas, they could probably still have a great conversation about like Krishna or Ganesh or something, or, or the Bhagavad Gita even.
Or
And they don't have
Jesus or
to, or,
whoever.
yeah, and they don't have to argue about it. Whereas in this country, well, in any country where there's different flavors of Christianity, that's always what they seem to concentrate on and debate about, was like the key points of why they're right.
Yeah. And it's not about, yeah, it's like the thing that bothers me, I guess I would say, is that people are like, no, we're right. That always bothered me. That's what got me out of religion. Um, because I was like, wait, how do you know? How do you know you're right?
How do you know?
It just seems very arrogant to me. And I've always hated arrogance and pride.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I hope that wasn't too boring for people. I was talking a lot.
You can blame me if you were bored. I chose it. So
Okay.
you can blame me now. No, I mean people can blame me, I'm saying. Don't blame Sharon.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there
No.
anything else you wanted to say about it?
I mean, I do like the distinction between people who believe this is real and not real, because it kind of, it's again, it's saying that it's okay, because from the perspective that they're looking at, it's like, yeah, this, everything is real. That's what my senses report to me. I'm just kind of going by that. And that's where some people are. Then some people have experiences and they're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
this doesn't seem so real. It's more like a dream to me with all
Mhm.
these synchronicities and all these things. So, but again, they could both these worldviews in this religion or belief system, both these worldviews can be accepted and don't have to be judged by the other one. So it's an important lesson, I think.
Indeed. I love it. Thank you, Spoon. She says dominant. Yeah, and I was trying to think of the my dominant what though? The cognitive cognitive functions. I was like, what is the word? Word of the two words.
Oh yeah,
Um,
cognitive function. That's it.
so I pulled an I Ching card because we haven't done that in a while.
Mm,
And I feel like I pulled this one before, I'm pretty sure. It's called Endurance. It's number 32. It's thunder above and wind below.
nice.
I have to angle it or else I'll get reflections. See, these are very abstract art, you know? Um, but 32 is almost 33. I just passed the 33. Endurance. Endurance is cultivated when determination is coupled with flexibility. Long distance runners must adapt to changing conditions while maintaining a strong sense of purpose. Two trees growing near each other bend and adapt to enhance each other's survival. We were just talking about the word mutable. A strong image of durability is the stable relationship of intimate partners that strikes a dynamic balance between involvement in the outside world and nourishment in the home. True endurance is not based on rigidity because endurance implies flexibility, not being locked in position. Only by adapting to change can we stay in the race, and only by deepening our sense of purpose can we call forth the strength to win it. I think I pulled this card for my friend.
Oh, nice. It's a good sync.
He's a long distance runner,
Wow.
and he's needs some advice, I think, but that's okay. All right, continuity is achieved through movement, not by keeping still. That which has ceased to grow is degrading toward death. Be actively changing, but stay strongly connected with your roots, your deepest thoughts and feelings. Well,
Great card.
maybe I pulled that for my friend. Maybe I pulled it for some of you guys out there, but for us too. Just a reminder that flexibility is still a good thing in many ways.
Yeah, going with the flow.
Yeah. So I guess we could say, like, when you were talking about the word mutable, we're talking about like truth, right? When we're saying non-mutable. So, but we as people, as beings, I mean, we are constantly changing. There's
Uh-oh, she froze. Oh no.
Oh, you froze.
Oh, I froze.
I froze too.
Yeah,
Shoot.
so we don't know who it
Let
was
me
really.
close. I might have to close some windows or something. What am I doing?
Okay.
Um,
Idea.
Maybe I'll take some of my devices offline so they're not on the Wi-Fi or something.
Oh
Maybe
yeah, good
that's
idea. Let me see. It
interfering.
says.
All right, I'll just do that for now.
All right. It says excellent condition. Now I'm gonna hear it with YouTube, so that's good. All right. All right, everybody. Well, yeah, I was saying like you got to remain flexible because there are unmutable energies that are out there, and I think it's better to
I think you
flow.
froze again. I think you
Oh,
froze again.
yeah, one
Do
of us
you have
froze.
like do you have like your Wi-Fi
Yeah.
iPad, sorry, your iPad on Wi-Fi? Maybe just take it off or
No, I think my iPad's off right now. My phone
okay.
is not in here. Where's my phone? I could take it off, but take it all off. Am I still freezing? What's it say in the chat? For me, it's Sharon freezing. Oh, she froze
Oh,
again.
it's me freezing. Shoot.
You can always pop out and come back in if you want to try something. If it keeps
Okay.
happening.
Yeah, keep talking. I'm gonna pop out.
Okay, what I was saying was that you want to be flexible because these non-mutable energies that you come in contact with, maybe that's part of the reason why you might be suffering. You're trying to, fight an uphill battle against something or go against the current instead of flowing with the current. Now, sometimes it might be necessary to stand, up against the current. I'm not saying you should just lay down and accept everything that happens, but internally, we're talking more spiritually. So internally, and how you feel about things when they're happening. And I think that's kind of what Sharon was talking about. Here she is. We'll admit her right back in. There you are.
How am I now?
Looks good.
Okay.
All right. Well, hopefully it was just a silly glitch.
Hopefully.
This says yes, host live. Good. Okay. All righty then. Yeah. So I was just saying how it's good. You want to just flow when you want to flow and be flexible. It's because you might be encountering the unmutable energies that are out in the world, the fixed energies that are unchangeable.
Indeed.
All right. So shall we dive into the Tao today?
We shall. Let's do it.
The Tao, Tyven. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about verses 71 and 72 of the Tao. If you're new to the Oversharon Show, welcome. Or if you're new to this format, this is something we've been doing for a while. We cover 4 different versions of each verse, and we have the names of the authors or the person whose translation it is, and the years published up here. And first we go through and read through, and then after that we do look a bit of a breakdown. So I'm going to start with Stephen Mitchell from 1988. So this one up here. Oops, this one here. Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease. First realize that you are sick, then you can move toward health. The master is her own physician. She has healed herself of all knowing. Thus she is truly whole.
Dwight Goddard, The Disease of Knowledge. To recognize one's ignorance of unknowable things is is mental health. And to be ignorant of knowable things is sickness. Only by grieving over ignorance of knowable things are we in mental health. The wise man is wise because he understands his ignorance and is grieved over it.
All right. Stan Rosenthal from 1984, without sickness. To acknowledge one's ignorance shows strength of personality, but to ignore wisdom is a sign of weakness. To be sick of sickness is a sign of good health. Therefore, the wise man grows sick of sickness and sick of being sick of sickness till he is sick no more. All right.
Aleister Crowley, the distemper of knowledge. To know, yet to know nothing, is the highest. Not to know, yet to pretend to knowledge, is a distemper. Painful is this distemper, therefore we shun it. The wise man hath it not. Knowing it to be bound up with sorrow, he putteth it away from him.
Mm. So a
Hey,
very short and sweet verse for 71. Um, and it looks like we've talked about this topic that they're tackling here before, but I like how they gave it its own verse toward the end. You know, these are the last 10 verses, everybody. So or 10 or 11, what is there, 82,
yeah, 81.
181, yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
10. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. And yeah, so I think these are the ones you really have to pay attention to. So let's go and break it down. Break it. So let me see if I can move this little bubble. Here we go. So the way Stephen Mitchell puts it, I think it's pretty straightforward. Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease. And now when we talk about not knowing, we're talking about the sense that you aren't attached to your belief, basically, at the end of the day, right? It's like,
Like we
it's
were
not
talking
that,
about earlier.
yeah, it's not like you don't have any knowledge of things or you don't know. It's just that you're not attached to it and you don't think exactly that you're right. You're not like, this is it. This is the only way. It has to be right. I'm totally right. And you're going to argue with people, right? It's like the
Yeah.
opposite of that.
Yeah. It's like, could it be? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know everything. It's humility in what you know or what you think you know. Thinking that, hey, you could be wrong. But if you do, let's say you have this inner knowing and you're just like, I do know, but I'm not going to force that on other people because they have to come to their own knowing through in their own way. Like you can't force somebody to quote know what you know. We've talked about what knowing really means. It means to have experience. So you can't force your experience on someone else.
Exactly.
You can tell them about your experience, but you can't tell them that it's the right one and it's the only one.
Yeah, they'll never know the feeling that you have because you went
Exactly.
through that experience and they have to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, yeah, so and then presuming to know is a disease, which I really like because it's just, you're pretending or you're even presuming. It's much more than just pretending because you think that you're right too. So you're not really even pretending that you're right. You are just making claims, I guess you could say,
Assuming
yeah, assuming.
that
There
you're
you
right.
go. You know what they say about
And
people who assume.
yeah, and the four agreement says don't make assumptions.
Exactly. It's all
Yeah.
lining up now. First realize that you are sick, then you can move toward health. I like that because it reminds me of, there's really nothing you could do until you realize that you have to not be in denial and accept it. And that's usually when we get all upset because we realize we are sick and we get mad about it. But that's not what they're saying to do here. It's like, then you can move toward health. It's like, you got to realize you're sick first. It's fine. You got to, start where you're at. The master is their own physician. I love it. So you could just take this anywhere and be like, I'm a Taoist. So therefore, I don't have to do what you say. It says it right in my book.
Yeah. Physician, heal thyself.
Yeah. Heal
Didn't they say
thyself.
that to Jesus or something like that?
It sounds pretty familiar. She has healed herself of all knowing. Thus, she is truly whole. And I think what he means here, it's not the knowing that we talk about as in like an experience. So she didn't really heal herself from like her experiences. I mean, maybe you could look at it that way, but it's more of a she kind of realized that she doesn't know, or this the master
She
realizes
detached.
it's
She is not attached to the knowing.
yeah, exactly. Unattached.
Yeah, because like, can you think about when you're attached to something, right? Let's say you're like a little 2-year-old and you have this little toy that you hold when you sleep or when you're, you feel like you want to be comforted, and someone takes that away from you. What is the baby going to do? The baby's going to be upset because the baby is attached to that toy, the
Comfort
doll,
blanket.
the pacifier, whatever it is, right?
Baby
So,
escapism.
baby escapism. So, don't be a baby escapist. Let go
That's right.
of attachments. And remember, we're preaching to ourselves and the choir here at the Over Sharon Show. Welcome.
That's right. We're preaching to the over Sharon choir. I just have my mic. We're singing to the preacher. I think that's it for that verse, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Cool though. But I'll just say one last thing. You know, the master is their own physician, like we were just saying, and it really is a mental, physical, all this health. Like it could be on you. You know, is it could it be? I mean, that it is
Yeah.
on you, you know?
Yeah. Could it be that within you are all the answers? Could it be that when Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you, that that's what he meant? Could it be?
It could be. All right.
The Disease of Knowledge, Dwight Goddard from 1919, verse 71. To recognize one's ignorance of unknowable things is mental health. Okay, it's mentally healthy to be like, I recognize my ignorance of things that are unknowable. So therefore, like, things about quote God and uh the universe, and I recognize that a lot of that is unknowable. So it's mentally healthy to recognize that. All right, next line is to be ignorant of knowable things is sickness. It's ignorance, like Mark Passio says.
Ignorance. Yeah. You really put the emphasis over the nor ignorance.
Yeah. So when you're willfully ignorant of things that are actually able to be known, could it be that that's unhealthy? And the next line says, only by grieving over ignorance of knowable things are we in mental health. So when you get to the point where you're grieving that ignorance of the things that are knowable, then you're on the path of healing. I believe that's what it's saying. Can you think of an example of grieving over ignorance of knowable things?
That's a really I mean, maybe we should look up the word grieving to see if it has any other kind of like meanings. Um, because we're
Being
always
like maybe letting go. Maybe grieving is like kind of like letting go too.
oh yeah, you
I
could
don't know. I'm
yeah,
just
that's
guessing. I
yeah,
didn't look it up.
that makes sense here. Let's say grieving. Well, let's just say grieving and see what it says. All right. The emotional response to loss, such as the death of a loved one,
Mm,
divorce, or serious illness. So grief is the emotional response to loss. Let's
mhm.
see.
So, a emotional response to to the loss of an attached thing, to some attachment, right?
Yeah.
It's the emotional response to the loss of an attached thing.
Let's see. It's they're defining it as a verb. Suffer grief, gerund or present
Gerund.
grieving. Oh, gerund. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
It's one of those linguistic terms that's weird.
Yeah.
I
To
honestly
cause
don't
to
even remember what it
suffer,
means.
to feel or show grief, to submit a form. It's not really good. Oh, I don't. Yeah, anguish, mourn, agonize.
Okay,
Hmm.
maybe so only by having an emotional response. That's the grieving part.
Hmm.
To over ignorance of noble things. So, but I would say it's like the loss of the attachment to maybe.
And also maybe focusing on, yeah, like kind of like that, but focusing on the fact that you don't know, you know,
Yeah.
focusing on your ignorance and kind of, yeah, I mean,
I
that's
would
why it's great to have these other verses because they kind of lay it out a
help.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that you could maybe say like this might be about letting go, like letting go in the by your acknowledging your feelings about
Yeah.
acknowledging your feelings. Grieving is like emotional response. So like by acknowledging those feelings, you're in the process of letting go, which leads to mental health. But I can't think of an example of like okay, so it says to be ignorant of noble things is sickness. So like can you think of an example of something that is knowable that you would be ignorant of, like willfully?
I think that yeah, I
Like
just
maybe,
natural
maybe.
law, like,
Okay.
karma.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. I was thinking more specific, like, okay, um, maybe like, for example, it is knowable that, there are people in this world who behave as narcissists, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But to be ignorant of that willfully, like, oh no, no, they're not. They're just XYZ, you know, whatever, right?
They'll be fine.
Yeah. Then that's kind of sickness because then you're trauma bonded, and you're just in the cycle and you're just not acknowledging that no, whatever's happening right now is not healthy for you. So even if they're not a narcissist, but let's just say they're just mentally unstable or just emotionally unavailable, you need to recognize that. And as long as you're not recognize it, you're not in mental health. You're not in health.
Yeah, or even about yourself, you know,
Yeah. Or
recognize those
things
things.
about yourself. Yeah.
Or a thing, it's a bond,
Yeah.
trauma bond.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like if
Instead
it's
of
about
James Bond.
yourself, like your example was you weren't acknowledging the truth of the matter, which was that you had an obsession and you were being willfully ignorant of that. You're like, no, 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 it's fine. This is natural. This is normal. It's okay. It's okay to be with like 100 women. It's totally fine.
Great.
Yeah. And then you're like, wait, so your grieving was more like laughter because of your emotional response. Your grieving, your emotional response was actually laughter because you recognized that no, it's not right. It's behavior that is like escapism, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And also the word grief or grieving is good because if you were let's see, because it says by grieving over ignorance of noble things are we in mental health. So most people want to know all these things. Let me see. Only by grieving over ignorance of noble things are we in mental health. Grieving.
Knowable. It sounded like you said noble,
Yeah.
Noble.
Oh no, I meant knowable. But so instead of trying to uh go out and get the knowledge and like and you have all this ambition to do it and stuff, this is more of like just an acceptance, I guess. because grief, the stages of grief, the final one is
The
acceptance.
final one is acceptance.
So maybe you can even look at
Yes.
that.
Good point. Good point. So the emotional response and everything that goes along with it, the stages until you accept it, right?
Yeah.
That's a very good point. That's a very good way of looking at it.
And the opposite would be, like pining over it or trying to figure it out and being like, why
Mm-hmm.
don't I have this no knowledge of noble things or whatever? All right, I'm gonna bring it back up. Here we go.
Did I finish
So
reading it?
no, I don't think we did.
Okay.
We did.
The wise man is wise because he understands his ignorance and is grieved over it.
Yeah.
He's accepted it. He's gone through the process of grief, the stages, and he's now accepted that he's ignorant of a lot of things, and that's okay.
And it's funny because someone that neophyte, like someone that's new, is also ignorant, but they're not grieving over it, right? That's the key here. The person, the wise man who's gone through and all this
Who's
stuff,
gone through all the steps.
he
He's
knows
like a
that.
33rd degree Mason. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. 33rd.3 degree. And because they know that sometimes more knowledge is detrimental, also, all these facts and stuff. Like sometimes once you get it, like you don't need anymore.
Yeah, yeah. It becomes superfluous and
Redundant. But yeah,
redundant,
that too.
excess, not useful.
All right, let's see here. All right, so I think you finished that one.
Okay, you ready for Stan?
To acknowledge one's ignorance shows strength of personality. That's pretty upfront. So, because most people in the society, everyone acts like they know everything. Nobody wants to be the idiot that doesn't know, right? So people
Mm,
sometimes just go along with that things because
mm,
of that. But
yes.
but to ignore wisdom is a sign of weakness. So
Mhm.
there's like a little bit of a conundrum here, right? So um it's good to acknowledge your ignorance, but you don't want to ignore wisdom.
Mm,
So it's kind of like you're sifting, right? You don't take everything that comes. You just kind of let it go, let it go. And then you're like, all right, this is some useful piece of knowledge. I'll use this wisdom.
mhm. Wisdom also comes over time. Wisdom doesn't just appear.
Mm,
Wisdom comes from experience.
exactly.
So
To be
when you're ignoring, sorry,
no, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so when you're acknowledging your ignorance in that case stems from non-experience, probably.
Yeah, great point.
So if you have no experience, it's, I mean, and you say, yeah, I get it. I've never experienced that. I don't, I can't comprehend that, and I'm ignorant of it. Um, and to acknowledge that it shows strength and of personality. It's like, it's being honest, it's being authentic, it's being humble because you're not trying to be arrogant. But the next thing is, says to ignore wisdom, and wisdom comes from experience. So you can't do it if you've never even experienced it before. So it has to be something that you've experienced that
Yeah,
you're ignoring.
to ignore those experiences is to not learn from the past.
Yeah. And that is a sign of weakness, says the Tao.
Yep, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not evil. You're just weakness.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
make it
And
strong.
what do?
Something to
You
work on.
just become stronger by learning from your experience.
Yep, and working it out, whatever it is. But to ignore wisdom is a sign of weakness. Okay, I said that. To be sick of sickness is a sign of good health.
I'm sick of being sick.
Therefore, the wise man grows sick of sickness and sick of being sick of sickness till he is sick no more. And I think that all that has to do with attachment. Because when you're sick of something, that just means that you're what? Not accepting it. You feel like a victim. You're like, I'm sick of this. This is gross. So they're saying
Yes.
that the wise man just accepts it and lets it go. Doesn't mean that he likes it or even partakes in it or even wants to do it, but he doesn't let himself be a victim.
I also think he's saying the sick of being sick of the sick, blah blah blah. That's the do it till you're done. That's
Yeah,
exactly what do it till you're done is. Like you're gonna have to get to that point, and everybody's point is different. Everybody's rock bottom of I'm sick of the sickness is different.
exactly. Exactly. It's just the end of a cycle. It's the death card.
The Distemper of Knowledge, Aleister Crowley from 1918, verse 71. To know, yet to know nothing, is the highest.
All
Not
right.
to, okay,
No,
yeah,
I'm just saying I love that. So it's what
yeah.
we've been saying the whole time. So this way, the way he
It's
puts
like
it
Wu
is
Wei.
it's perfectly way wu way. It's like you know, but you're not attached to it. To know, but to realize that you could be wrong, right? Like this is the best thing that makes sense to you now, so you're sticking with it, but you're open-minded to something that might make more sense. And then you're like, oh, wait a
Yeah.
minute.
It reminds me of what Joe talked about of the like kind of the level of consciousness. And with every level, higher level, truth is still the truth at whatever 300, 400, 500. But every higher level, it's just, you know, Carmen said it. It's like uh when you're in a helicopter, you see from above. It's like just a different view of it, right? So you can see that, oh yeah, it is true that, this person is standing on the street on this, on this street in this neighborhood or whatever. I'm just making something up. But at a higher level, you can see more things. Like not only is that happening, but this is also happening at this other level. And then there's birds and there's an owl over here. Like, and all these things are like they're just higher levels of truth that at your eye level when you're standing on that street you're not going to see that owl that's two houses down on the light post whatever like you just don't have that view but it is true. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you could
Did I
be
go off on a
standing
tangent?
there on the street and it could be raining half a mile away. And from someone who has a bird's eye view, they're like, oh, it's raining down there. But for you, it's still sunshine
Yeah,
and
you're like
everything's
no
great.
it's not but it is
But
somewhere
it
else.
is it raining? I mean, yes and no, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we like to say yes and no on the show. Where
Yes,
were we?
no, right here. We're at the first
Yes
line.
and no.
No,
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
it was good.
Um, to not know, or sorry, not to know. There's a lot of ta na na ta ta ta.
No, no, no.
Not to know, yet to pretend to knowledge, like Brandon was saying earlier, pretending is a distemper. And I'm just gonna look that word up just because I want to know what he's
Probably
really
gonna get a
talking about.
bunch of stuff from like about and distemper in animals and
Oh
rabies
yeah, because it's in
vaccinations.
veterinary pathology, canine distemper, colt distemper, cat distemper. Wow, I didn't know that side of it. So that's one definition of distemper. And another definition is a deranged condition of mind or body, a disorder or disease, as in a feverish distemper. So it's kind
Mm.
of like saying disease, a deranged condition of the mind or body. It's also disorder or disturbance, especially of a political nature. Didn't know that one either.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
I know.
Oh yeah. So,
So basically he's saying it's disease. It's a deranged condition of the mind or body.
yep. So like mental illness, like they were saying mental
Yeah.
health or
Yeah.
sickness.
Yeah.
He describes
Yeah.
it.
All right. So painful, painful is this distemper or this disease or this mental instability or whatever. Therefore, we shun it. The wise man doesn't have it. Let's just put it that way.
Nope.
Knowing it to be bound up with sorrow, he puts it away from him.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, so he
What
knows
is
that
sorrow? Go ahead.
that path is fraught with peril. It's like that, pretending that or being attached to what is, he knows that that's what he's talking about. He's like, the wise man knows that that's perilous, or what's the words he uses? But yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, you're not being authentic. You're not being true to yourself. You're lying to yourself, and that never brings, good things. Um, but I was gonna talk about the word sorrow because I forgot, was it Fortune Saint Germain or something who said you can live your life.
To learn your lessons.
Yeah, you can reply, say it because I don't remember.
You can learn your lessons through sorrow or joy. Like,
Yeah.
we're here to learn lessons, and you can learn them through sorrow or joy, is basically what he said.
Yeah.
And that's so true. You really can. You learn that's why it's sorrow, and so it still will bring you to that. But what he's saying is the wise man already went through that, and he's like, no more for me. I don't want no hot dog. I said that once. I was looking at it. We were looking at a menu somewhere, and it said hot dog, and I just was like, I don't want no hot dog for like no reason. I just like blurted it out. So it's like a new inside joke. But yeah, that's what it is. Like,
It
that
means
wise
you
man's
don't
like,
want
nope.
that. I don't
Yeah,
want
I
that.
don't. He's like, I've been there before. I don't want no hot dog right now. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
sweet.
I don't know what else there is to say about that.
I think that's all we could say about that. I guess we could break down the other verse
Verse,
72.
the other
Anything
voice.
anything going on with the chat? Oh, it looks pretty good. What's up, Sarah and Blue? Summer Station pops in. What's up, Summer? Hello, friends. Hello. You made it just in time for verse
Yeah.
72, which is my birth
Your
my
number.
literal entrance. Yeah, July 2nd. There we go, 72.
Yeah. That's
All right.
Brandon's number.
So I'm gonna start again. We're gonna go through and read these and we'll go break them down. So don't go anywhere. Stephen Mitchell from 1988, verse 72. When they lose their sense of awe, people turn to religion.
Ooh.
Whoa, okay. When they no
We're not
longer
breaking down yet.
yeah. Let me try that again. When they lose their sense of awe, people turn to religion. When they no longer trust themselves, they begin to depend upon authority. All right. Therefore, the master steps back so that people won't be confused. He teaches without a teaching, so that people will have nothing to learn. I love it.
Wow.
Yeah, these
I can't
verses at
wait
these
to
last
talk
10 ones
about
are
this.
just
Dwight Goddard, verse 72 from 1919, to cherish one's self. When people are too ignorant to fear the fearsome thing, then it will surely come. Do not make the place where they dwell confining, the life they live wearisome. If they are let alone, they will not become restless. Therefore, the wise man, while not understanding himself, regards himself. While cherishing, he does not overvalue himself. Therefore, he discards flattery and prefers regard.
all right. Verse 72, Stan Rosenthal from 1984. He entitles this The Loving Self. The sage retains a sense of awe and of prosperity, and of
Propriety.
propriety. Haha. He does not intrude into others' homes, does not harass them. Oh, that's really nice of him. Nor interfere without request unless they damage others. So it is that they return to him. Though the sage knows himself, he makes no show of it. He has self-respect, but is not arrogant, for he develops the ability to let go of that which he no longer needs.
Ooh. Loving the self. Wow. I love that. Holy smokes. Aleister Crowley, verse 72 from 1918, entitles this Concerning Love of Self. Wow. This is huge.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Anyway, let me move on. When men fear not that which is to be feared, that which they fear cometh upon them. I feel like Dwight Goddard and Aleister Crowley sometimes are very, very close in their translations. Let them not live without thought the superficial life. Let them not weary of the spring of life. By avoiding the superficial life, this weariness cometh not upon them. These things the wise man knoweth, not showeth. He loveth himself without isolating his value. He accepteth the former and rejecteth the latter.
He rejects the latter. We get what you're saying, Alistair. Al's just shining down on heaven. He's shining down on us from heaven. I call him Big Al. All right, it's enough. No, I like this verse is great. Self-love, I think, is huge because really, honestly, when you start on the path of self-love and you realize how much self-hate you might have been filled with, like I never realized I was. When you start down this path and you start to accept things, everything really changes. And I think it does open up more the spiritual and also the meaning of the spiritual and a lot of this esoteric stuff and the symbolism. Because you're looking at it from less of a materialistic view, I guess you could say. Once you start to love yourself, because you realize you're part of everything and there really is nothing wrong with you. You fit in, you're just like a leaf on a tree trying to be like, why ain't I look exactly like them other leaves? I gotta face this way. I want to face the other way. It's like, but everyone else that's looking at you is like, wow, look at that beautiful tree and those leaves. And it's amazing.
Yeah. Why can't we just treat each other like we're all trees?
Yeah. Or ourselves too. And that's really,
Yeah.
and this too, but this is really the key, because when we start to love and respect ourselves, then I find then we, because a lot of the times when we argue with people, and we've talked about this so many times on the show, but it's like projection. There's something about that other person, or even when we just feel some type of way, like Sharon likes to say, about somebody or
Spoons
an
does. I
action
got
that
it
they're
from her.
doing. Yeah, spoons too. Yeah, you're right. She likes to do the imitation some type of way. But when you feel that way, it's a lot of times it's because there's a behavior that they're doing that for some reason is triggering you, right? And a lot of times it's because it's a behavior that you yourself engage in to some degree and you don't like it in yourself, but since you haven't really looked at it, you're just pointing out to it in the world and saying, this I don't like. So that's part of it. And then other times, we've talked about with the 7 scene mirrors, where there's all different ways that you're seeing things and they're coming back to you. And one of them is just because you haven't accepted that behavior in the world for whatever reason, And
I'm glad you brought that back up because I was thinking exactly about that.
yeah. And so as you start to realize every time you get triggered, if you even later can think about it and say, oh, wait a minute, yeah, that person was whatever they did, they cut me off or whatever. But I'm mad because I feel like I wasn't seen and I'm not seen a lot. So they didn't even see me at that stop sign. How dare they skip my turn and just go? So it all comes back to these. And it's like just a, like a snowball effect as you start to realize these and let it go in your life. And yeah, I mean, I think that's really what the main message of the show really is about, that kind of stuff, So I don't remember where I started, but this is where we
Great
are. So
preface for loving self. Yeah. It was because I
yeah,
think we talked about, the title of everybody's except Stephen Mitchell never titles his, but like the other three entitle it about, loving, cherishing self
yeah,
and the importance of that.
yeah, 100%. Because that's basically to wrap it up. I was saying if you have the self-love and then you don't, at least that mirror part of it, you start to not project as much when it's a behavior that you yourself aren't happy that you do, and you see it out there and you get mad and point the finger. So a lot of that goes away, but there's steps to this. And then sometimes things still bother you and you're like, why am I triggered? I don't even blow stop signs and this guy's going right through it. And then, like I said, you come down to it that you just feel like you're not being seen, maybe, or it could be an abandonment thing, or but there's always layers between it. And then you like we do, try to feel our feelings and let them go.
Yeah,
All right, let's get back into
exactly.
breaking this down. This should be a lot of fun. 404, 44 seconds. All right, let's do it. Boom.
Nice.
Would you look at
Would you look at that?
exactly. All right, Stephen Mitchell from 1988. When they lose their sense of awe, people turn to religion. I love
Oh,
this. What is a sense of awe? Like I think a sense of awe, a sense of wonder. It's like we talk about be like a child in the world. Know that magic exists. It's not the magic that Disney tries to tell you about.
open-minded without fear.
Yeah, it's the magic that you actually are performing magic every day because you create your
Your
reality.
reality.
Exactly. And that's what they're saying. When people forget all that stuff, they turn to religion. And there's nothing wrong with that because they still have a sense inside that something's wrong. They feel incomplete. There's a higher power. So they go looking for it. And in this society, and I guess in the Tao, those times it was
Back
the
then
same.
too.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same, that people would turn to religion. All
Well,
right.
and what is religion? Because religion boils down to people doing kind of like a rote thing. Like there's laws, there's rules, there's regulations, there's dogmas, there's creeds, there's do it like this, because they lose their sense of whatever, right? They're like, I need some sort of structure. And
A
that's what religion,
handrail.
yes, and that's what religion provides. The right hand path, right? The 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 handrail for the right hand path.
The right hand rail. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And when you have that view of it, you don't have to judge it and hate it and say, oh, those guys are wrong. And it's like, no, that's just because of whatever they've been through and whatever's going on inside of them. They're looking for a higher power, and this handrail is doing it for them. And
Is going to guide them to it.
there are
And
a lot of
maybe,
truths.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry,
No, it's okay.
I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, with religion, like Brandon was saying, it's not a bad thing. It's a way. It's part of people's journeys. I mean, I had to go through that path for some part of my life, and I thought I needed that. But and I did for that moment, for that time frame. And it helped me see a lot of things. And then it also helped me open my eyes that there's more to it than these rote practices and traditions and XYZ, right? Like I felt like I could do things more freely for myself and begin to come to a better understanding of this universe, um, without the need of that handrail, like you said.
100%. But
I learned to climb up the stairs or down the stairs or up and down the stairs without the handrail, and now I can just walk up myself without the handrail, right?
100% exactly. And yeah, no, you said everything. There's nothing more to be said. Perfect. Let's see here. Yeah, so and then when they no longer trust themselves, they begin to depend upon authority.
And it
And this
comes
one
with
is
that.
huge too.
Mm-hmm.
You see this a lot. This is what all the anarcho-capitalists that are for anarchy, but in like a Rothbardian anarcho-capital way. That's what they see in the world. People need authority. They need someone to tell them what to do because they are afraid to take personal responsibility for a lot of their things in their life. I'm not saying that's the whole view that I have, but you could see it though, and that's why I think when people complain about the size of government, it's like, well, somebody had to let it get that big, and that's really what happens. It's kind of like every day you can either choose to take some personal responsibility for the things you want to do or let them go. Like, coffee. Every day I grind coffee beans, and it's not because I'm cool or whatever. It's just because I enjoy the taste and I want fresh coffee. So I'm able to now enjoy it because I've done that work. Or you can rely on someone else. You could just drive to Dunkin' Donuts and get a coffee. But then you got to worry about what's in it and who touched it and, how long has it been sitting there and all these things, right? So it's like mowing your own grass or cutting your own hair or whatever.
Doing any of
Anytime,
those things, yeah.
yeah, anytime you have to rely on someone else, then you kind of have to. It's like, it reminds me of, it's like, if you want something done right, you got to do
Gotta
it
do it
yourself.
yourself.
And it's always good to work with other people or have other people help you and get an expert once in a while. We're not saying to not do that, but this is what that verse reminds me of, though, with the authority thing.
Yeah, and there you go with the sorry, I was going to say the it's they begin to depend upon. So like you were saying, if you need help here and there, like we all need help all the time for things, right? But it's like when you're like you can't do it yourself anymore because now they do it for you. It's like we were walking around the neighborhood like some weeks ago and we're asking one of the neighbors, "Oh, how did your lights look really nice, your Christmas lights and everything?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't do it anymore. It's just so much easier to hire someone to do."
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of that because they depend on that now. Like they'll probably never go back to putting it up themselves, right? Because it's become like a thing. Like now it's like, oh no, let's, just have somebody do it for you. And for some things it's fine. It's not I'm not making fun of it. It's no big deal, but it's this concept of spiritually, right? Um when you don't trust yourself spiritually, you're going to go look for an authority figure to tell you what to do. How do I get to God? How do I um unite with God? How do I do bhakti yoga? How can I be a good Christian? You know, XYZ.
Yeah, no, I mean, 1,000%. And it is really interesting because so many people want to blame the Catholic Church and blame the Jays and blame all these heads of these vile religions in the New Age and all this traps, and they're terrible. But you know what? At the end of the day, aha, here we go. Take a drink, everybody. At the end of the day, most, a large percentage, most of those people are choosing that religion. Sometimes people are forced into things and stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. Talking about even in the United States, people are like, oh, the Catholic Church is a disgrace and it's terrible. It's like, yeah, but people are choosing to go there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't point the finger at like the Pope necessarily because everybody else, he's just saying words. It's like when people get mad at whoever the president is. I'm like, hey, like who,
People are
George Bush.
following that.
Yeah, like George Bush didn't invade Iraq. He just was like, he just talked into a microphone and people did it. Like you can't get mad at that guy. Like he's just knows what he's doing when he's talking into a microphone. Don't get mad at him, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
could, but I'm just saying it's kind of a useless.
Pointless. Yeah. That's a
Oh
good point.
man. Yeah, I've been saying that for a while. I'm like, yo, it's just a guy talking into a microphone. All right. Therefore, the master steps back so that people won't be confused. I like that. So it's like he doesn't micromanage, right? The master steps back and lets people do it their own way and doesn't
Mhm.
try to. And even if he has a way to kind of show people to do it, he's not sitting there doing it for them up, in the front of the spotlight. He's kind of just in the background, letting people
Yeah.
figure it out. He teaches without teaching, same kind of thing. Were you going to say something?
I was, but I was gonna look for something as well in my notes. But go ahead.
Okay. He teaches without a teaching so that people will have nothing to learn. And it's very, I could see how that's valuable because it's kind of like the whole knowing that you don't know thing. Hang on, I got a cough.
Oh, it's like when the famous quote that we always use is the those who know don't speak. Silence.
Yes, teaching without a teaching. It's more like you're using an example. You don't have to sit like, I know the correct method to do it, do this. No, it's like you're just the example.
Yeah. I was so the way I was thinking about it too was let's say like someone is a master, right? And they're not going to appear to be a master, but maybe they will because of their, I guess, their presence or whatever, you know. Anyway, someone might come up to them and, be like, "Oh, you're a guru or you're a master or you're some authority. Please tell me what I need to do because I don't know what to do in my life. This is what's going on, XYZ. And they tell you all your problems and all their problems in XYZ. The master isn't going to be like, oh, you need to blah, 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 blah. The master's going to step back and say, okay, let's think about this. Let's evaluate it. What is going on in your life right now. Like, make it about what what is best for them and how they can make the decision for themselves based on what's really going on if they really step back and look at the situation, right?
Yeah, it's not like a one size fits all answer. There's no
Right.
exact method. The way is there is no way. That's the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right.
the other thing I wanted to say, just kind of off side note, off topic, but what I really liked, one of the things I liked finding in this book, The World's Religions by Houston Smith, is that he explains what the word guru means. So he says guru is popularly explained as a dispeller of ignorance or darkness. That's the gu, the gu part means one who dispels ignorance or darkness. And the ru part is a bringer of enlightenment.
Ooh, I like.
So, yeah, it's not like, oh, master, teacher, spiritual authority, blah, blah, blah. It's just someone who is dispelling ignorance and darkness and someone who's bringing enlightenment. Like they're bringing enlightenment to the situation. They're enlightening you to things, by dispelling ignorance and dispelling ignorance at the same time.
Same damn time. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's so different than how we imagine because we always think guru means like some kind of expert or something in an area, like nope, that's not what they're meaning exactly. I mean, that's what
Yeah,
some people pretend, but all right. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so I guess we can go to the Dwight Goddard version.
sure. Dwight Goddard, for 72 from 1919, entitles us to cherish one's self. When people are too ignorant to fear the fearsome thing, then it will surely come. I kind of need help with this one. It's kind of a little deep.
Yeah, so we always talk about I must not fear. Fear is the
There's a
mind
mind
killer, right?
killer.
So here, but here,
Can I go off topic just real quick?
yeah, please.
Don't forget what you're going to say.
Okay, I won't.
We finished watching Dune Prophecy,
Oh,
the whole 6 episodes, and allegedly they're not going to make new ones until next year. So it's going to be another year for the season 2, allegedly. So, but anyway, it's crazy how I don't want to give it away, but like the final episode, like you start to understand where fear is the mind killer comes from. Like they don't even
oh,
say it, but you'll be like, holy smokes.
oh,
It's like
nice.
it's like an example of like how it happens. So
That's
anyway, I
really
just
cool.
thought I'd throw that in there.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I gotta check that out or finish it. But we
Sorry.
watched this. She started watching this documentary about this girl who was adopted. She was like a little person, and the parent, like it was just she was from the Ukraine too. And like the mom got her re-aged because she kept saying she's supposed to be like 7 or 8. And the mom's like, she's older. And like they had this expert re-ager and they put her in an apartment by herself. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. But I would say to you, like, instead of watching the series, you could probably just watch like a YouTube thing about it. Because there's like a 3-season documentary. I think there are like 6 episodes each or 40 minutes or whatever, but there's all this stuff. And then at the end of the second one, they thought that was going to be it, but then something else happened and they dug further or whatever. But
Oh
the cool
wow.
thing, it has a happy ending at the end. Like her name is Natalia. Like she's been through hell and she seems like she finds some peace. Like, but it's cool because they talk about different disorders and stuff, and they're talking about like just different forms of abandonment. I forget what the name that they call it. It happens a lot with people who are either adopted or neglected when they're young.
Hmm.
But it was really interesting and to see her kind of work through it. But yeah.
Crazy. I
So
didn't even
yeah,
know
just
about
be
that.
careful what you get hooked into out there, guys. No.
Spoon says there's a lot of stuff on YouTube about Natalia.
Yeah, and
She know about it too.
but also watching it, I'm just like, is this real? Like, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's mostly real, but I mean, I don't even
You
like the
never know.
stuff they're telling you is real isn't real, so who knows? But it was interesting as a kind of human, behavior thing out there and how narratives are formed and stuff. It's crazy. But anywho, yeah, I'm excited to see that. Dune. We watched all the Lord of the Rings. I don't know if I talked about this.
Again.
All four of the Lord of the Rings extended. Well, not again, but yeah, just recently we watched it and we watched like the first Hobbit or whatever. But and I was listening to the audiobooks and it's so funny because I'm like, these extended versions are so short. Like even though it's 4 hours, I'm like, it's too quick. But
They're not explaining everything.
yeah. But they get a lot, they get the main messages in, and
Yeah.
there's a couple things I caught. They even because they don't have Tom Bombadil in the movies, but they
Yeah, they
have
don't.
in the extended version, they do have the Ent Treebeard
Mm-hmm.
when in the extended version, spoiler alert, when Merry and Pippin are starting to get like eaten by this tree, he comes over and what he says to the tree is what Tom Bombadil says to the tree that are eating the hobbits
Oh
early in the
my
story.
gosh.
So he uses the same thing. So it's cool because they gave him like a little little
Cameo.
yeah.
Even though he didn't say it.
Yeah. Hey Tom. They should just do a Tom Bombadil movie. I mean, I don't know, but that's just me. Anyway. um, let's get back to the Tao.
Yes. Did you remember what you're going to say? Because I specifically told you not to forget.
Once I read it again, I will.
Okay.
What were we talking about? Do not. Oh, the fearing thing. Yes, when people are too ignorant to fear the fearsome thing. Okay, so basically, like we always talk about fear is the mind killer, and you must not fear and stuff. But fear is normal, and it really is. How are you going to act despite the fear? Like, are you going to act in fear, or are you going to still stand up and do, and act despite the fear? So I think here, though, what he's talking about is if you don't realize the dangers. So this is kind of like the unseen, like it's like what you don't know. It's when you have a blind spot, right? That's what this reminds me of. When people are too ignorant to fear the fearsome thing, then it will surely come. So if you have a blind spot and you don't even know to look out for this thing, it's definitely going to come. And that's what reminds me. It's like reminds me about being in a cycle that we talk about, these cycles of trauma and stuff. But it could apply to other things too. But that's what I really made me think of here
Okay.
because a lot of people be like, oh, you shouldn't fear anything, like but it's like no, it's like it's kind of how like they say fear God. You should have a healthy fear of God, and it's not in a way like you should be scared and hiding under your bed. It's just that you should respect
Yeah,
certain
with
things.
the when they're using the word respect, then I get it, but I still oppose you on that. I'm just
The
kidding.
fearing God thing,
Yeah.
fear God only.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I think it's just the way
Well,
we're interpreting it.
I think it's more, and I think I've said this before too. It's more about I think fearing the wrath of God, and that's more of just like natural law, like
Oh, karma.
yeah, fear God only. And what that means is like if you go against God's law, then something's gonna kind of will happen to you. Like that's the fear. Everything else in this uh experience or realm doesn't need to be feared in that way. You just as long as you're following the God's law, then you don't have to fear anything, is kind of what I think is what they're saying. But I mean, just like every verse in the Bible gets mistranslated. That one, got a little. It's cool though.
All right. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Oh yeah, no problem. So we were talking here when people oh, you're
Yeah,
good.
okay, so I'm back. Sorry, I just had to close the door because there's noise outside the door. Um, all right, so I read all that part, right? When people
Yep,
are
the
too
fearsome
ignorant
thing.
to
Yep,
fear the
and we're sure.
fearsome thing, then it will surely come. I guess it's like about preparation too. Maybe just be prepared for the unexpected or something like that.
Yeah, and well, if you look at fearsome thing, So there's something fearsome. What could this fearsome thing be? And
Yeah.
it could just be any bad thing that can happen to you. Um, and I think a lot of people reading this might, you like you said, take it the wrong
Death.
way. Yeah, there you go. So it's good to be aware,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And not ignorant that you are going to die. So this way you're not going to be
Yeah.
walking on the side of the highway
Okay.
or in the
That's
middle
a
of the
good
highway. You know what I mean?
example. That
Like
it
that's
always
that's
helps me to have an example.
yeah,
So
there it is. And then also though, but just so everyone knows, you could use it for whatever. You could use it for like
the death.
escapism or
Oh,
what?
go ahead. I was
Oh,
gonna say like the death of an idea or a thought that you had. Like, oh, I thought it was gonna be like this. I always thought it would be like this. And then that doesn't happen. So that whole thing dies and you have like this, I don't know, new perspective because it wasn't like you thought it was gonna be. But anyway, go. You were gonna say something else.
no, that makes sense too because you have this shift you didn't know was coming. I
Mm-hmm.
was just saying that it doesn't have like physical death, but yeah, you're
That
right.
too.
I mean, it doesn't have to just be a physical death. It could
Yeah.
be, that's what I was saying. It could be whatever bad thing that you don't a fearsome thing that can happen to you if you're just not if you're ignorant of it, then it's more likely that it is going to happen. Like, all right.
All right, I'll
Oh, you
keep
were reading.
reading.
Okay.
And if we're missing something, do tell us in the comments or if you think of something better, because there may be something we're missing on that. Anyway, I'll keep reading. Do not make the place where they dwell confining, the life they live wearisome. So for people who are too ignorant to fear the fearsome thing, don't make their dwelling place confining or the life that they live wearisome. Like, don't make them feel bad about it, I guess, is the point.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So it's kind of like don't woke rape them, like we always say, right? Like let them figure it out.
Yeah, because they will.
Yeah, I like that.
If they are let alone, they will not become restless. So there you go. That just told us the answer.
Yeah, because if you think about it, when you are trying to pound somebody over the head with some new information or something, they could like think of an intervention when somebody doesn't want to quit whatever it is, drug drinking or whatever. You can't just pound them over the head with it. You got to let them do it till they're done and figure it out on their own. That's how I
Mhm.
figured it out. Like that's how I could just have a couple drinks socially and be fine. Because I
Mhm.
know, and I say to myself, you don't want to feel like shit tomorrow, do you, Brandon? Okay. Like,
Same here.
but not everyone's at that level because everybody has a different level of how they speak to themselves and how they view the world and all these different things. So it's not for you to tell them, right? Because that's what happens. They get restless, it gets confining, and it be that it leads to even more drinking or whatever if you try to harass them about it. And I understand if
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to do an intervention for somebody. I'm not telling you to not do interventions, people. Like,
Yeah, like if someone's like
use
falling
your
over
judgment.
and they're like one more and you're like no no no, let's just let's go hang out over here.
Yeah, let them
You
do it till it's done. Like, yeah, that's not what we mean.
distract
Like, you
them.
don't have to let them drink till they die, but what we mean is like to not judge them and make them feel bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
They'll figure it out on their own. They feel bad enough,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
which
that's
is
probably
and
why
that's
they
the
drink.
reason. Exactly. I was going to say
Yeah,
that.
because they hate themselves, right? So,
Yeah, that or whatever it is, the vice that they're, you know, using to cover the pain or whatever, to numb it. Like Spoons was telling me, she was thinking about the way um, alcohol works and stuff is like it's a numbing agent, pretty much.
it shifts you into another personality, like another side of your mind. I've noticed, and I feel, and other people I think have said this too. But and that's why a lot of people will say things that they know won't normally say or get off their chest, or they're acting different. You're like, well, you're not acting yourself. It's because
Yeah.
they're not showing you the side they normally show you.
Split personality. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Well, we kind of have, and really
Mhm.
what it is, it's still, and why it's confusing for them too, is because they're like, I'm still the same person. I don't think they realize as easily, unless it's pointed out to them and they are totally conscious of their behavior, then they won't realize it and they'll think you're the crazy one. So that's why, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
All right. Therefore, the wise man, while not understanding himself, regards himself. While cherishing, he does not overvalue himself. Therefore, he discards flattery and prefers regard. I think I'll need some help looking at that.
You want to look up regards?
Yeah, sure.
Uh, so I'm not exactly quite sure on this because we always talk about like self-knowledge, and they're saying not understanding himself regards himself.
Yeah, I don't know what.
I had
Let me
something
try.
earlier, but now it's going away, so I'm trying to
Dang
get
it.
back to it. I mean, the rest of it makes a lot more sense. Um,
Okay, let's just say
yeah, go ahead, and then
the
I'll.
wise man might say, maybe I don't understand the complexities of why,
Yeah, yeah.
XYZ happens for me or whatever. But I still regard myself with kindness. So regard is, I just looked it up. It says to look upon a thing, or to look upon or think of with a particular feeling. So if you have the object used with an object, like to regard a person with favor, and then the next definition is to have or show respect or concern for, to think highly of or to esteem, to take into account or to consider, to look at or to observe. So,
Oh, I get it now. I
yeah,
understand it. Okay, so therefore the wise man. So it's two different things, right? So if the wise man doesn't understand himself, he still regards it. He's still like, it's okay. It's
yeah,
okay that I
yeah,
don't understand whatever this is, right? And
yeah,
then while cherishing, so if he's cherishing a part of himself or whatever, he does not overvalue. So if he does something great, he's not like, so the easiest way to
yeah,
say it is if
yeah.
he makes a
He's
mistake, he's not
balanced.
hard on himself. And if
Yeah,
he does something great, he's not over like, wow, exactly. He's balanced.
exactly. Thank you. That
Yeah, I had to put it together with the other once. Yeah.
word. Yeah, with the word regards. Yeah. So, yes, that makes sense. So
I
therefore,
was
so it makes sense. Therefore, he discards flattery and prefers regard. And regard is just like I was saying, it's just respect, concern. I mean, it has other definitions like
It
esteem.
reminds me of like satisfaction, like satisfied, like just that,
Yeah, contentedness.
content. There you go.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I was just trying to read that one line without attaching it to the bottom lines. That's why I think it was screwing me up a little bit. Cool.
That last line.
Yeah, I was just looking at I didn't realize it was a comma.
Oh,
While not
okay.
understanding himself regards himself, comma, while cherishing. Yeah. So once I was like, oh yeah, it's silly. All right. Loving the self by Stan Rosenthal. The sage retains a sense of awe and of propriety. All right. So we know what awe is. What is propriety?
Oh, like
Exactly.
properness, but
Uh,
let me just give you a good definition.
there we go. That makes sense. So it's going
Uh,
along. Go ahead.
rightness or justness, appropriateness to the purpose or circumstances, suitability, conformity to established standards of good or proper behavior or manners.
That's why when you get like the proprietor of this establishment, that makes sense, right? This person
Oh, see, I didn't
makes
even
it
think
in
of that
line.
word.
What's that?
I didn't even think of that word, the proprietor.
Oh yeah, proprietor.
Yeah, propriety would be like properness, you know, like it said, conformity to established standards of good or proper behavior or manners.
Awesome. So that this so we can get why he would do that, but then the sense of awe, it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. You have a sense of awe and wonder about this world. It's not
Like a child.
everything's not defined. We don't know about every inch of this realm. We haven't mapped it out and nailed it down like like mainstream science would let you think, right? There's still so many mysteries out there to be explored and to be cherished and to wonder at. And it doesn't mean that you have to get in on one side of the argument, though, right? It's exactly what we're talking about here, about having that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Natalia really was, a
Mm.
person. All that stuff is true for her, that she made it through. All right. Let's see. He does
She's not
not.
an AI. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you never know. He does not intrude into others' homes. Okay, that makes
Okay.
sense. He does not harass them. Does not interfere without request. All right, you wanna. So does not nor interfere without request. So there you go. That's a huge one. The sage
Mhm.
does not interfere without request. It means he's not sitting there trying to tell people how to live and how to
Or
be and interfere
interrupting and forcing himself on the situations.
unless they ask.
Yeah.
There you go. Unsolicited advice, none from the sage, right? According to the Tao.
Nope.
uh Unless they damage others. So that means that they will cause harm to others if they do all this stuff, right? So they know. Um, so it is
Okay, wait,
that
wait,
they
wait.
return.
Unless they damage others.
Yeah. So I think what
Okay,
he's
so in
saying,
other words, he doesn't interfere. So like if two people are fighting and arguing, then he'll interfere to like maybe hold people back from hurting each other.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was looking at that kind of the wrong way. No, you're right. So basically it's like um self-defense, right? Kind of thing, or protecting other people. Like you're not going to start it, but you might finish it, kind of thing. Right. Awesome. Yeah, unless they damage others. So nor interfere without request unless they damage others. So that there's another point in here where you could say that the Tao does talk about self-defense and defending others, right? You don't interfere without request unless they damage others. Then it might be your duty to step in there, right? And kind of help someone or
Mhm.
yourself. So it is that they return to him. And I think they mean like, God, right?
Mm,
Maybe.
I was thinking that people return to the sage
Oh, yeah, there you go. So, yeah, the people return to the sage. Yeah, you're
for
right.
like maybe for advice
Mm-hmm.
or something because they know that he's not, you know, giving it with, unless they ask.
He's not
So
going to tell them what they're not ready to hear.
yeah. And so they will come to him because now they're asking, they are requesting. He will
Mm-hmm.
not interfere without request. So they do come to him when they really need to request it from him because then they know he will tell them something valid and useful.
Yeah, exactly. He's not just like out there talking shit all day. Though the sage knows himself, he makes no show of it. I like that. So it's like, yeah, you know yourself, you have self knowledge, you're killing out there, but you're not bragging about it and you're not thinking you're better than other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a balance.
Yeah.
He has self respect, but is not arrogant. Okay, that's pretty.
Yep.
For he develops the ability to let go of that which he no longer needs. So if anyone ever asks us
Mm,
about self-love and what the difference is, we could just point them to verse 72 of the Tao.
that's
And if they're
right.
like, well, do you mean like selfishness? Like, no, this is in like, what's the difference? Well, here it is. He has, he,
Mm-hmm.
he knows these things, but he's not arrogant, So,
Mm-hmm.
for he develops the ability to let go of that which he no longer needs. It's perfect. You just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever doesn't serve you in that moment or in that time, you let it go.
Yeah.
And mostly we're talking about like, I mean, it could be anything, but mostly it's like feelings or
Spiritual things,
spiritual
emotion.
practices, even methods of doing things, ways of looking at things. Sometimes the way of looking at things just doesn't serve you anymore. You got to stop making fun of all those retards. No, I'm just kidding. You can't be making fun of retards. No, but yeah, you gotta just sometimes you have to adjust and adapt and overcome to things and be mutable.
All
Last
right.
verse.
Aleister Crowley's verse 72 of the Tao from 1918 concerning love of self. When men fear not that which is to be feared, that which they fear comes upon them. That's pretty much what Dwight Goddard said.
Hmm.
Um,
And
let
remember,
that
everybody,
go ahead.
we're talking about like being aware of something, having a healthy respect, not being fearful and acting fearful because of it. That's not what they're talking about. I think he's just talking about blind spots and not being ignorant to different things in your life that should be respected or feared. That could
Yeah.
damage you. Yeah, I mean, you could even look at it that way. So come at it backwards, like Dwight Goddard said, a fearsome thing. So anything out there that's fearsome, you should at least be aware of it. If it could hurt you, if it's real, not if it's like a made up thing.
Well, and here's the thing. To me, I just thought of this. Maybe it's like a subconscious fear of
Yeah,
something. And you're not clearly,
acknowledging it.
you're not aware of it. You're not acknowledging it.
Yeah, that's so true.
But subconsciously you are afraid of this thing. So when you're afraid of something in your energy field, your energy body, it will attract the fear because that's just how it works.
Yeah, especially if you're unconsciously afraid of it. Because if you are aware that you're afraid and then you do the litany against fear and you act despite the fear, I think you'll be okay for sure. But like exactly what Sharon was saying, you have these fears and you're not. It reminds me of like all kinds of stuff, like the warnings that they put on cigarette labels and stuff like that, right? They give you these unconscious, subconscious fears to manifest things in your field. So if you are aware of them, but then
Like
you're
the
also
egregores.
egregore, exactly. Yes, there you go.
If you're aware of the egregore, then maybe it won't come upon you.
That's right.
All right, it says next it says let them not live without thought the superficial life. So I'm not quite sure what he means by that.
That's a, yeah. I mean, let them not live without thought the superficial life. So don't let them live a superficial life without thought.
Without thinking about it, without
Um,
recognizing that it is superficial.
yes, that's what it is. Okay. Yeah. So that's what's going on. You're living like the superficial life. Like,
But he's saying let them not do that. So how would the sage do that?
I think he's talking. So it's a different point of view here. He's saying when
Okay.
men fear not that which is to be feared, uh, fear cometh upon them. Let them not live without thought the superficial life. Let them not
Who's
weary
doing the
of
letting? It's
spring of
like,
life. What's that?
who is doing the letting?
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, I think it's the. Yeah, I guess it would be the sage, and they're
The
talking about
sage?
when fair. They're talking about men, so not let
Oh,
these men
men.
from the beginning
But
when
who's
men
letting
fear.
the men not live the
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
superficial?
I think it's the sage.
Yeah.
I guess right. Hmm.
Yeah, we'll have to think about that part
All
as
right.
we keep reading.
Go ahead.
Let them not weary of the spring of life. By avoiding the superficial life, this weariness cometh not upon them. These things the wise man knows, doesn't show them. He loves himself without isolating his value. Okay, so these things a wise man knows, he doesn't show them. He loves himself without isolating his value. He accepts the former and rejects the latter. I'm going to have to figure out which one's the former and which one's the latter, but we'll first let's figure out what he's talking about when he's talking about the superficial life.
Yeah, I think when he says reject the latter, I think he means the superficial life, right? Is that what you?
Oh,
No, because the
the
latter is
spring of
usually what
life.
comes later in the sentence, though, right?
Okay, yes, he accepteth the former, which is the spring of life.
Oh, okay.
and he rejecteth the latter, the superficial life.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I think.
Huh.
Let them not weary of the spring of life. Well, okay, what is the spring of life? God,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Like the
right?
awe that they were talking about in the other um verses, the to not lose the awe. That's what this part reminds you of. Let them not weary of the spring of life, like the magic of life. Because this thing about a spring, it's unending spring of water. Well, mostly it's supposed to be like a if you have a spring of life, it's that same thing. It's the unending energy and everything.
Well, Jesus talks about he is the um he's he'll give you from the well that will never dry out, right?
Yeah,
Like
so yeah, it reminds me of the same thing.
he's like the spring of life or whatever. Um so I don't know if this let them is more of a like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
like
know
a
how to express
decree,
that.
like let them not live without thought the superficial life. Let them not weary of the spring of life. Kind of like
Yeah.
so so it's not like you want to
Let
hold.
them eat cake. I'm just kidding.
Yes. So this can also go to in your inside, your internal, like your because we're talking about self-love, right? And concerning self-love.
Mhm.
So this could also be for a master who's trying to help people love themselves.
Okay. Yeah.
Let them not live without thought the superficial life. Let them not weary of the spring of life. So you don't want to steer them toward living this superficial life without thought.
Yeah. Steer them toward the spring of life. Don't let them be afraid. Like teach them not to be afraid of the spring of life.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if they avoid the superficial life, then weariness won't come upon them. And so that's what the wise man knows. And he doesn't show it. So he's not arrogant about it, which Stan Rosenthal says. He loves himself without isolating his value, his importance, right? So he accepts the former, which I'm assuming is the spring of life, and rejects the latter, the superficial life. Could it be?
I think it is. All right. We did it.
We got through the two verses.
So that means there's just nine. Last week there was 11 verses left. This week there's nine. No, 10, I guess, and eight more. Right? 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82.
No, 81.
Or 81. Yeah, nine more. Sorry, nine more.
Yeah, because we had 11 last time. We had 11. Now we have 9. 9, 11.
Oh, yeah, that is what
Kidding.
I was. I was watching something else and they're like, oh, we think her age, I think it was on that Natalia thing. Like, we think her age was between 9 and 11. And I'm like, 9 and 11, you say? Or like on the cookies sometimes that I get we usually
Fortune
make them out,
cookies?
but no, there's these, I forget what they are, but they're like gluten free, whatever. And they come in the freezer section or the fridge
Oh,
section. But on the chocolate chip ones or whatever, it's bake 9 to 11 minutes. And I'm like,
9-11 minutes.
yeah, 9 to 11 minutes. Yeah, exactly. It's
Ah,
like you couldn't, say like 8 to 12 or 9 to 12. Yeah, I don't know. It's good
yeah,
though. I like it. I see what they did there. And they're like, no, it's
I
got to be
see.
exact or just about 10 minutes. Like, nope,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give or take 10 minutes, give or take.
about 10.
Maybe.
Nope, 9 to 11.
Nope, 9 to 11.
Do you guys have any? Do you guys think 9/11 was an inside job? Yeah, inside my oven with these cookies baking for 9 to 11 minutes, maybe. All right. All right, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed our
Oh
breakdown
God.
of
That
this.
that cookies baking in the oven makes me think of something else, but we won't go there.
Yes, everybody. It does make me think of something else. Were the cookies even baked in the oven? That's the question. I don't think they were. I think
Right.
they're still in the fridge. All right. So,
At least not all of them.
um, not enough. No. All right, everybody. I'm a comedian. It's cool. Yeah. So thank you guys for hanging out. We do this every Thursday night, and that really, or every Thursday, we are either live or premiere. So it's the best way to support us is to be here hanging out in the chat like you guys are right now. Thank you guys for your support. You can go to morelawsmoreproblems.com. That's the website if you'd like to support us financially. There's ways there, also other ways to find us. Just the podcast version if you're watching the video, or if you're listening to the podcast version, you want to watch the video. The link to the YouTube is there too. It's the Brandon Bonanza channel on YouTube. Check it out and stay tuned for more lovely episodes because, like we said, we only have 9 verses left.
Which is
So
about like 4 more episodes,
yeah,
4 or
4 or 5
5,
depending on, yeah. So
depending on how many we get through.
let us know, guys, what you think you want us to talk about, but we probably have a good idea. So stay tuned for all that fun stuff and the other every other episode that we do. And I recorded a interview for my show recently with an author. His name is Charlie Siegel, and he's actually the grandson of Bernie Siegel. If you guys ever heard of him, Dr. Bernie Siegel, it's his grandson, and I know him in real life. He owns a crystal shop, him and his mom.
Oh,
They're in
nice.
lovely Simsbury, Connecticut, Wisdom of the Ages. So I've been going there for a while and talking to him about things. And he came out with this. He's written other books, but this is it's really nice. He's a lot of poetry and short stories and his photography. And he said, it's probably it's a nice thick book with a bunch of photography. You can get the color or black and white. And he said some people have been using it like an oracle deck where they'll just flip to something.
Oh,
And a couple of people, like whatever they flipped to was relevant to what was going on in their life. So very
so it
interesting.
became an oracle book.
Oracle book, yes. And he's traveled all over the world. He's been to Japan a few times. He's into martial arts and stuff. So,
Sweet.
um, yeah, a lot of good photography.
Oh,
So,
Kathleen has said she bought his book.
oh yeah, Kathleen knows him. Yes, that's right. What's up, Kathleen? Yes, I did an interview with him. It's on ice. I just got to edit it, and I will have it out next week. I'm thinking, and I'll let everybody know. So look forward to that. And yeah, I actually I thought of a different way instead of what we say. So I'm gonna just see if you notice the difference. I added one word. All right. um all right, everybody. What do we say to the good people, Sharon?
So once you start over Sharon.
Then you totally stop over Karen about
Ooh.
things that don't matter. And remember, everybody. Yeah, you like that? Yeah, because it's what if somebody named Karen listens? We're
You
not
like that one, Frank?
You're not over Karen. That's what happens. You get over Sharon or you're over too Karen about things. And if you're not over Sharon, then you're over Karen about things that don't matter. And remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live your life.
We're just giving you tips on how to live a more Tao-filled life. How better can it be?
That's right. Tao. That's what Homer should say instead of dough. Tao. Punny. Yes, super punny. We got all the
Ew.
puns. Big Punisher, they call us sometimes. They call us. They're all like, they watch our show and they're like, you're the pun I want to. Anyway,
I don't
Shania.
know that song.
No, still the one. Still
Yeah.
the pun I run.
Okay.
The only way. I think that's I have a long
Shania
history.
Twain.
Yeah, Shania. I think
There
that's
you
one of the,
go.
yeah, that's one of the
That's
songs I
funny.
lost. All right. All right, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was actually under 2 hours this week.
Yeah.
Amazing enough. So you guys have a little extra time to yourselves. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend. Ciao,
Ciao.
ciao. And take care.